Greetings everyone, welcome back to another episode of Bite-Size History on History with Audrey D. In today's lesson, we are continuing our shark series into shark science in the age of exploration. Now I hope you have enjoyed this series so far, and I look forward to making quite a few more of these lessons. And if you are enjoying it, please make sure you are hitting that like and subscribe button as well so that you get notified every time I put out a new lesson. Find me on Instagram and Patreon to further support this channel. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get into today's lesson on shark science in the age of exploration. By the late 1400s, the world was shifting. Empires raced to claim new lands, trade routes, and treasures. But in that pursuit, explorers encountered something else. New creatures. Some soared above the trees, others crept through dense jungles, and some waded in the water. Sharks, once the subjects of sailor legends and Renaissance sketches, began appearing in logs, drawings, and specimen jars. In this episode, we sail into the age of exploration, a time when curiosity clashed with conquest, and sharks swam into the spotlight of science. When European ships crossed the Atlantic and Pacific, they didn't just carry gold and gunpowder. They carried scientists. Known as naturalists, these early biologists were tasked with documenting everything they saw: plants, animals, people, and fish. One of the earliest examples comes from Captain James Cook's second voyage, from 1772 to 1775, when naturalists like Johann Reinfeld Forster and his son, George, meticulously described marine life in the South Pacific. They documented sharks based on observation rather than hearsay, finally separating scientific reality from sailor superstition. And they weren't alone. Other voyages, French, Spanish, Dutch, brought back shark jaws, sketches, and even preserved specimens from European museums. In 1758, Swedish botanist Carl Linnaeus revolutionized biology with his system of taxonomy, a standardized method for naming organisms using Latin. In his groundbreaking work, Systema Naturae, Linnaeus listed several shark species under the genus Squalus, meaning shark lake in Latin. This was a major moment. Sharks were now officially part of science, not superstition. By giving sharks formal names, scientists began to study their anatomy, habits, and habitats with fresh eyes. This term, ichthyology, from the Greek ichthys, meaning fish, now had a broader purpose. Without photography, science depended on the next best thing: art. Naturalists, illustrators like Albertus Seba, and later Louis Renard, created stunning hand-colored engravings of marine life, including sharks, based on real specimens collected during voyages. These illustrations weren't always accurate. Some sharks looked suspiciously dragon-like, but they were a bridge from mystery to science, from folklore to formal study. Museums across Europe began building marine specimen collections, sometimes through trade, sometimes through conquest. By the late 1700s, sharks were on display in jars and cases, their mouths propped open to show off rows of serrated teeth. While Europeans were just beginning to classify sharks, indigenous peoples had known them for centuries. Pacific Islanders, Aboriginal Australians, and coastal African communities had deep relationships with sharks, often based on respect, ritual, and careful observation. Unfortunately, this knowledge was often ignored or erased by colonial science. Today, however, marine scientists are increasingly recognizing that indigenous ecological knowledge offers valuable insight, especially about shark behavior, migration, and conservation. The age of exploration was a complicated time, full of discovery and also exploitation. Still, it laid the groundwork for modern ichthyology. Sharks, once feared and misunderstood, were now being studied, named, and drawn, as well as displayed. And that wraps it up for today's lesson about shark science during the age of exploration. In our next episode, we'll be taking a look at the 19th century, the golden age of marine biology, when shark science finally took to the deep. Now, again, I hope you enjoyed this lesson and our deep dive that I'm doing into shark science and the history of it. If you did, you are hitting that like and subscribe button and finding me on Patreon to become a subscriber there, as well as Instagram. I'm on there as History with Audrey D as well. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I will see you in our next lesson.